I remember a time in recent history where Billie Eilish was getting attacked for winning a Grammy for Album of the Year over Lana Del Rey and Ariana Grande. Isn't it funny how time works? Now the mirror is being held up and the same scenario is being played in reverse. In fact, Billie would become so tired of winning due to some of the hate it would ignite for her that she would calmly downplay herself and claim other artists deserve to win instead. She had a total sweep off the back of her debut in all main categories. And even though she received 7 nominations for Happier Than Ever, she won none. Even though she did win Record of the Year for Everything I Wanted in 2021 and Song of the Year for What Was I Made For. Then for her third album Hit Me Hard and Soft, the Grammy cycle seemed to mirror Happier Than Ever. She also got 7 nominations and won nothing. While it's certainly fair to say Billie Eilish deserves something, I for one am in total agreement with that, and I'm a regular listener of both of the Queen Bees that we're discussing. However, I'm utterly perplexed at, out of the 7 nominations lost, how Beyoncé has become the center target of vitriol for some Billie Eilish fans, and what gave any indication that Billie was the de facto winner for Album of the Year. Listen, this year's Grammys was highly competitive. It was simply a great year for music. Saying that you've never listened to an album, you've never heard a song from an album, is not a good enough reason to discredit an album win. Using your own personal ignorance to someone's music or your personal listening experience as a measurement tool for what is good art is dumb. Even more so in the streaming age, where we can curate our own music and everything is far more niche. Sales and streams are also not a great measurement. Obviously they play some factor because we're discussing some of the biggest artists in music ever, but if we're talking about the biggest seller, then Taylor Swift would win literally every award from here on out, because no one is touching her in sales. And rarely have I seen anyone shower the tortured poets in praise and claim that it was snubbed. And all the nominees clearly put in work and emotion into their album, but it comes out to varying degrees. But I've seen some people be like, Billie worked so hard on this album, and I'm like, and so did the other nominees? That is just a very weird litmus test. I say all this to say the insults that are being hurled at Beyoncé and Cowboy Carter are grossly unfair and uneven. Obviously, we can never fully predict Album of the Year win, but I do think Cowboy Carter meets a lot of the criteria for a typical Album of the Year win. It's more rooted in traditionalism, it's not as out there as albums like Renaissance. It's the closest thing to a singer-songwriter album that we will get from Beyoncé, which the Grammys have notoriously favored for Album of the Year in recent history. It also has the support of various industry vets, Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, Miley Cyrus, who just came off of winning 2 Grammys last year, and space for upcoming artists as well, such as Shaboozey, a Beatles cover, a Nancy Sinatra sample, and both Paul McCartney and Nancy Sinatra came out in support of the record. I'm sure the inclusion of some of these artists also swayed votes for Cowboy Carter. It has commercial success and also is the second most acclaimed album of 2024, only behind Charli XCX's Brat. And it is a bit daring, but I think daring in a way that is easily digestible. So while many might agree it's not Beyoncé's personal best record, it is still a very high contender pick for Album of the Year, and I think all the credentials are there. And Beyoncé, while being the most awarded artist in Grammy history, has mostly been regulated to R&B categories, a racist structure that typically pigeonholes Black artists from competing in main categories, which is why only 3 Black women have won Album of the Year, Beyoncé being the first and only of this century despite having various albums that were far ahead and could've and should've won, from Self-Titled to Lemonade to of course Renaissance. So yes, I do think there are more concise and tight albums in the Album of the Year category this year, but I don't think Cowboy Carter is devoid of great material, great concept, and a strong industry backing and narrative. And I think that's also something stronger about this record than some of its other contenders, the narrative. Hit Me Hard and Soft is an amalgamation of things Billie has already done. Cowboy Carter is Beyoncé trying her hand at something completely new. But just to recap, Billie Eilish did not win the pop categories over Sabrina Carpenter, which I personally believe that she had a much stronger shot at. Beyoncé was not nominated in these categories, and I like all the albums I'm mentioning, but I did think that Hit Me Hard and Soft was a much stronger effort than Short and Sweet. And if anything, Best Pop Vocal Album was the award to me that I thought was very obviously Billie's win, but it wasn't. She also lost other categories to Kendrick Lamar, while all roads lead back to Beyoncé for some reason. If Billie Eilish didn't win in literally any other category, I don't know why people thought Album of the Year was the sole guaranteed award. It's not Beyoncé's fault, and it wasn't Billie's fault when she won in 2019 despite being met with swift and immense backlash. If Billie Eilish didn't win in the pop categories, then the race was likely between Beyoncé and Sabrina Carpenter, but the country vote likely edged out the pop vote. The country vote is also why Taylor Swift has won so many Album of the Year awards. Country music is where she began, and she has maintained a positive relationship with the country music industry, and the country institution will likely always vote for her. And Beyoncé this year was the only country album nominated, and it had a heap of legends on it that are respected in country music as well. That is something to consider. But I just think this discourse is all a bit misdirected and extreme. It's so interesting though how some scenarios are mirrored. I was very pleased with this year's Grammys. I thought they were ultimately all very fair despite feeling like Billie deserved some recognition. It was nice to see these newer faces get their recognition and their moment in the sun. It was also nice to see the veterans shine in categories they've never had a chance to. Even Phineas, Billie's brother and collaborator, spoke out and made a statement. "Great Grammys," he said. "So honored to have been nominated amongst so many amazing songs and albums. I don't want to see anyone with a photo of me or Billie as their profile pic getting in fights with other artists' fans in comment sections. Congratulations to all." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call great sportsmanship. But realistically, B&B are not competitors and weren't on Grammy night either.